I have served the Imperium my entire life, but only now in its final hours. Do I understand how fragile reality truly is? I write this not as a loyal governor, nor as the dutiful servant I once was, but as a witness. A chronicler of what became of Phoebe Tertius, when the veil tore and the heralds stepped through. If this record reaches Terra, or even some nameless archive where the administratum buries its failures, let it be known that we did not fall to rebellion, nor to heresy, nor to cowardice. We fell because the walls of our world cracked, and something older, hungrier, and infinitely crueler came singing through the breach. It began, as such things often do, with dreams. At first, no one paid them much heed. Citizens reported vivid nightmares, strange whispers in the night. Visions of figures that flickered at the edges of perception. The astropaths, of course, suffered worst. Their screaming sessions echoed through the city even during the day, their blind eyes weeping blood, their bodies convulsing as though they were caught between waking and drowning. The choirmaster told me privately that several had bitten off their own tongues in an attempt to silence whatever voices clawed at their minds. But even the ordinary folk felt it. Merchants woke, drenched in sweat, unable to recall why their hearts pounded so violently. Mothers said their children spoke with voices not their own. Miners swore they saw shapes writhing in the veins of ore beneath the earth, shadows that fled when the lights flared. I should have recognized these as the precursors of a breach. Any scholar child is taught the warning signs of warp instability, but denial is a powerful shield, and the administratum trains us well in looking away. We told ourselves it was coincidence, mass hysteria, solar flares interfering with the minds of the sensitive. We lied to ourselves because the truth was unthinkable. The first herald arrived on the 93rd day. It was a simple market morning. Stalls of fruit and cloth lined the plaza. Vendors called out their prices. Children darted through the crowd. Then the air thickened. The sunlight warped, and the smell of copper filled every breath. The woman's name, I later learned, was Elira Halst, a weaver, middle-aged, unremarkable, known only for her habit of humming while she worked. Witnesses said she froze in the marketplace, her basket falling from her arms, her body rigid as though a puppeteer had pulled her taut on unseen strings. Then she opened her mouth. The sound that poured from her was not human. It was not song, nor scream, nor speech, but something that devoured all three. The crowd clutched their ears, blood seeping between their fingers. Windows shattered. Beasts collapsed frothing in their pens. And in the midst of the cacophony, Elira's body ruptured, not as a corpse ruptures under explosion, but as a cocoon splits when the creature inside is ready to emerge. From her throat spilled light. Impossible. Searing, writhing with colors unnamed. Her spine bent backward until it cracked. Her jaw split into four. Her ribs opened like the wings of some obscene angel. And through her flesh, the herald spoke. Not with words, with intention. With certainty. With the raw weight of the warp, pressing against our world like an ocean against glass. Most fled, though many fell before they could take 3 steps, their bodies boiled by the resonance of the herald's voice. Others stood transfixed, their faces slack, their eyes filling with brilliance until they burst like overripe fruit. I too stood, unable to move, weeping without understanding why. For in that sound was terror, yes, but also beauty, terrible, radiant beauty that promised freedom from every chain. The enforcers opened fire. Their lascans burned Elira's husk into blackened cinders. But the herald was not gone. The light lingered, coiling upward, streaming into the sky like smoke. And for hours afterward, The entire city hummed with the resonance of her impossible song. The heralds multiplied swiftly. Within a week, there were dozens. Ordinary citizens caught in moments of weakness, their bodies transformed into conduits for the warp. A farmer in the fields who sang until his lungs tore themselves apart. A preacher in the chapel whose sermon dissolved into shrieking laughter as wings of burning parchment erupted from his back. A child in the schoolyard who recited arithmetic in a voice that peeled the skin from his classmates' faces. The Arbites tried to quarantine the afflicted. They dragged them into isolation wards, muzzled them, burned them, but each herald's death only birthed new ones. The warp was pushing, pressing harder against the veil, and the heralds were its cracks. I attended one such execution myself. The prisoner was bound in chains inscribed with hexagrammic wards, his body writhing with sores that opened and closed like mouths. He sang, even gagged, even as the Arbites nailed his limbs to the pyre. The flames consumed his flesh, but his voice grew louder. I swear to you, I saw his tongue still singing after the rest of him was ash. Inevitably, there were those who listened not with fear, but with rapture. The cultists called themselves the Harmonium. They preached that the heralds were not omens of destruction, but angels of rebirth, emissaries of a new age where sound itself would remake the universe. They gathered in basements, in abandoned manufactoria, in the very vaults beneath the administratum where I once stored ledgers. There, they rehearsed the herald's songs, coughing until blood poured from their throats, reshaping their own flesh with resonance alone. I witnessed one of these rituals after a colleague betrayed them to me. The harmonium stood in a circle, throats raw, voices raised in dreadful harmony. Each note scraped at the edges of my mind, peeling away reason, inviting madness. Their leader, a gaunt man with no eyes, swayed in the center. With every verse, tumors blossomed across his chest, opening into mouths that sang counterpoint to his own. By the time the Arbites stormed the chamber, half the congregation had fused into a single pulsating mass, their bodies liquefying into a choir of meat. We burned the remains, of course. But I confess, the echoes of their music lingered in my skull for days, and part of me longed to hear it again. On the 171st day, the sky broke. There is no other word for it. It did not storm, nor burn, nor eclipse. It cracked. Lines of violet light split across the heavens, jagged fractures through which poured shapes too vast to comprehend. The air thickened like syrup. Gravity wavered. Time itself seemed to hiccup. And then they came, not heralds, not conduits, not mortals, true denizens of the warp, clawing their way through the fractures, drawn by the voices that had prepared the way. Daemons of every description, shrieking, laughing, howling hymns that vibrated the bones of the city. Streets erupted with claw and fang. Wings of fire tore through Hab. Blocks, rivers of molten flesh swept away entire districts. But even in the face of this apocalypse, the heralds did not falter. Their voices rose, amplified by the very collapse of reality, guiding the daemons as conductors guide orchestras. They were not victims, nor martyrs, nor prophets. They were instruments, and through them the warp played its dreadful symphony. The guard regiment sent to reinforce us never reached the ground. The sky was a storm of claws and wings, ships swallowed whole by rifts that snapped shut like jaws. The astropathic choir was annihilated in the first hours of the breach. No message left our world. We were cut off, abandoned, devoured. I retreated to the vaults beneath the governor's palace, clutching my journals, telling myself that someone must record this. But even here, in the deepest stone, the herald's music finds me. The pipes groan with it, the torches flicker in time with it. My very heartbeat thrums to their rhythm. I have not slept in 3 nights. Each time I close my eyes, I see the sky tearing again and again and again. Each time I wake, I find myself humming their melodies under my breath. I do not know how much longer I can resist. To whoever finds this, forgive me. I can no longer pretend to resist. I understand now why so many embrace the Heralds willingly. Their song is not only destruction, it is release. It strips away fear, strips away identity, strips away the endless burden of service and obedience. It reduces us to what we truly are. Notes in a greater harmony, voices in a cosmic choir that stretches from one edge of the galaxy to the other. When I breathe now, I feel the resonance building. My lungs ache with it. My throat strains with it. I know what will happen when I open my mouth, and still I long for it. To sing, to join, to dissolve into the chorus that is already echoing in my bones. Perhaps by the time you hear this, I will already be gone. Perhaps I will be nothing but a husk on the floor. My flesh split, my voice still ringing. Perhaps I will be something, but know this, the heralds of the warp are not coming. They are already here.